Welcome to Dayton Warcry Club. I'm Warren, and today I'm joined by my co-host Fred and Dave, as well as special guest Mike Sansom. Tonight, we'll be covering lists from around the world from the last month as we see how things are shaping up as we get closer to Adepticon. We'll also have our initial impression of the revamped Flesh Eater courts, as well as the LVO reveals, a ton of upcoming events, and even a hobby update. All coming up on this episode of Dayton Warcry Club. How's it going, guys?
Good. Hey, just live the dream.
What's up, gang?
We have Mike Sansom back on the cast to talk with us tonight, and we're going to be just covering a whole lot of list reviews for the most part. We also have even some hobby updates, a few reveals to kind of talk about. We're just going to take a pass on everything that got dropped on us back in November and December. The 6 new warbands or whatever, yeah, we got overcome by events there. But putting together list reviews seems to be our forte, and we're going to keep on talking about lists and promoting upcoming events here. So, ready to get to it?
Yeah, sounds good. Give me those lists.
I appreciate you guys letting me call in for this one, not making me drive to Ohio. Very kind.
Well, first off, a hobby update. I thought we'd share a couple pictures from games that we had, from meetups we've had. We've actually had a handful of meetups, both locally at Dragon's Guild Hall. We had a couple new players. We met down at Mavericks and Mason. I was actually just in Columbus yesterday and met a couple new players there too. They're going to be kind of getting together, and they might have some scene kind of starting to reform there, which is very, very cool.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, and a couple of things we can kind of see here in these pictures. Actually, we got to see some Eskurgan True Blades in action. I got to feel how hard they hit firsthand. They hit pretty hard. And I think we don't have any pictures here, but also local legend Death Dealer Dan has been terrorizing folks with the Knaves Black Talons as well.
Yeah, there's definitely things to like about that warband when you play it tight. It's got a lot of synergy into it. So,
Warren, you saying that Stormcast armor didn't hold up?
No, not in this case. Yeah, that guy, oh, no. Yeah, toughness 6 held up for a little bit, but I think I wound up playing to a draw on this one. I can't remember.
Were they killing missions or good variety?
You know, at this point, I forget. I think this was this was the treasure mission with the 6 treasures.
Mm-hmm.
Loot and pillage or whatever, I think.
You played against Ironjaws also, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a couple picks I shared in the group chat, but didn't use them, didn't put them up here. But yeah, I played against Ironjaws.
With a Gorgrunta, right?
Yeah, actually he was actually running 6 models double Gorgrunta.
That's aggressive.
Yeah. Yes, it was very top end.
You came up a couple of nasty lists, Warren. I feel like every time I'm on, you've just gotten done with fighting a couple of absolute mashers.
Yeah, and I'm still playing with lists that are kind of just, I'm updating them a little bit. I play a lot of Untamed Beasts, a lot of one-box Untamed Beasts against all the newcomers, and they still perform shockingly well, just with all of the tricks they have up their sleeve and the numbers, and that's been my go-to for the most part.
Just classics for a reason, right? Got some great utility.
Yep. I got some more stuff to show off here. I've actually been getting hobby progress done. It's tough balancing content creation, personal hobby progress, real life, and everything else. But so I'm branching out into 40K. Did a Necron Combat Patrol. It was a pretty quick win. I have a handful of other 40K and kill team things I want to do this year. Part of what I want to do this year is actually play some Combat Patrol 40K. Play some kill team, get in some other games as well. I realize that might be really tricky with how busy everything else is, but that's kind of like my New Year's resolution. So again, pretty quick win. Necrons are supposed to be brain dead, easy to paint, and they mostly are, but I can make everything complicated.
Yeah, they look great, man.
Yeah, and we got some work from you too, Mike. It looks like you're working on some terrain.
Yeah, I got that new Scales of Talaxis set and finally committed to, I finally decided for my entire Gur theme and stuff like that, what I'm going to do for all of the stone and then all of like the bamboo and stuff like that. So Yeah, this is still work in progress, obviously. The bamboo, I'm kind of going like a lighter green, so I don't have to paint the straps in the end. So like hitting it with some contrast and then going over with a couple of different colors to make it look like the bamboo is kind of newer and older that's been put up. That's why it's got like green, yellow, and some brown colors in there, just to add some variety in the colors. And then, yeah, the jade I've just been working on this week is super fun. You can kind of see it a little bit under the tree there, not terribly well. I didn't take very good pictures, unfortunately, but using some contrast to lay down the base and then throwing some like white lines to give kind of like the imperfections in the stone, and then going over that again with a different contrast paint, and it gives some really cool effects. It's really fun to do too.
Yeah, you would sent a few other pics that I didn't use. They were just like close-ups of the jade as well.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just fun. It's a neat, it's motivating. Once I finally decide on my schemes, I can absolutely crank it out. Like I've only been working on these guys for, I don't know, like a week and a half, 2 weeks or something like that, other than the bamboo. The bamboo I did a while ago, but yeah, there's a lot of pieces in there, but it's just such a pretty set on the table too. Oh, you know what? I just realized I totally forgot to take a picture. I'm almost done with my maw pit. That would have been a great one.
I was going to ask that next. Like, how many of your maw pits have you painted?
So one of them is almost completely painted. A second one is built where I messed with the teeth on it. Instead of having them kind of point inwards, they're pointing up. Just a fun little tweak. And the other ones are patiently waiting on their sprues for me to show them some love finally, bring them out of the box. And I'm in a big terrain kick right now, so they might actually get some attention.
Yeah, I want to see the Oops All Maw Pit. I want to see the Oops All Maw Pits board and play on it.
It's put an objective in the middle of every one and make everybody play around.
It'll be a short
That's
game.
The goal.
It'll be a short game.
Love it.
So besides the hobby update, so we had a few previews in the last couple of weeks we'll cover here. Just looking for some folks' first impressions. We haven't seen any rules yet for any of this, but the Night Haunt Pyregeists versus the Lumineth. Can't even pronounce this one. Riverblades.
Yeah, there's
Get
certainly two factions that need some love. So, maybe they'll be good. I don't know. But those factions could use a little competitive depth.
I've always thought Night Haunt was a shame because a lot of the models look really cool, but the rules for them just aren't great. Their stats aren't great.
They've some neat abilities, but yeah, nothing to follow it up with.
They put a lot of points into things that don't win Warcry games, and not many points into things that do win Warcry games. So that's a bummer. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some competitive models in there. And same with Lumineth. They got really hammered in 2.0 when Blade Lords got nerfed. That was like the good unit they had. I guess spears are probably pretty good, but I haven't really seen any competitive lists that are like spear based.
The Wardens and the Stone Hammer guys, the Cal Hammers are both pretty well priced, but yeah, they're hard to make work because they're both pretty frail, and you got Cal Hammers moving at 3, so there's some fun shenanigans to pull off. But yeah, you gotta know what you're doing. You can't accidentally be really good with Lumineth, I don't think. Yeah,
they don't really have like that true like centerpiece model, right? They don't have any like really good elite hammers. They have like the one cavalry piece, which is like okay, but other than that, they don't have. They have some okay infantry, but.
And a couple of their abilities are like in faction only. Like I can't remember the name of it, but there's the one that for every wound that you have on one of your models, you can roll a die, and for like 4 up or something like that, you put a wound, for each wound, you can roll it, and then can potentially add exactly that amount of wounds to another model, which can be kind of nuts. But yeah, max like 28 wounds on one of those guys, you don't get it out of there. So hopefully these guys have some really cool stuff. I love the overalls, just going to work, heading out to the river, got some river stuff to do.
They're fishing.
There you go. Love it. The leaders got the fork, got the sai ready to go. Just start spear fishing in there. Start scooping them out.
Yeah. So
cool models.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about the Pyregeist being good because at 8 models they're going to be pretty expensive. I'm calling it right now. The leader will probably be pretty good or have some really awesome ability. And he's going to compete with all of the other heroes available to the Death faction.
All the 700.
Yes, you have your choice of awesome heroes to pick from.
He looks cool. I mean, that warband is gonna have. I can't wait to see them like paint it up. Like all the different ideas people are gonna have between like the cool glowiness that Nighthaunt normally has, plus those flames.
Yeah, that is a good painting opportunity. I can't paint flames to save my life, so that's not for me. But yeah, properly painted, they could look sweet.
Next up, we had a preview. We weren't expecting this. There's gonna be some box set coming soon for Callus and Toll. I guess I don't watch Warhammer Plus, but apparently they have a series as well. But this looks sweet
It does look
because
sweet.
I imagine when they drop, it'll be like Knave's Black Talons, and I'm assuming they've got our hopes up, they've got our expectations up now, where they'd be perfect to be a Warcry warband with Warcry rules as well.
Yeah, I like the aesthetic, like the Witch Hunter models that they've been kind of flirting with supporting for a while now. And it's always cool to have more because eventually we'll get a critical mass of those.
Get a full, hopefully like an Order of Azir warband where you can just have all witch hunters in there. That'd be super cool. I will say, Warren, I will caution you being optimistic about anything coming out of GW because the only thing they're consistent about is being inconsistent. So I could see us
they
never
are
getting rules for these guys.
They exist to just crushingly disappoint you at every opportunity.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about
Spare
that
is
later.
part of the IP, okay?
Yep, it's true.
It's
I've
not
heard good
not a
stuff about
bug, it's a
their
feature.
stories. I know a lot of people really like the Callus and Toll stuff, so I think they'll probably be pretty popular, which hopefully means they'll stick more rolls out to get more people buying.
We also have yet another Soulblight Gravelords Underworlds warband.
Yep.
A Necromancer, a few zombies. We got another zombie dog here, it looks like.
The Exiled Dead. There was the Electro themed one, wasn't very good, but the other Soulblight boxes have been really good. Like as far as like,
Sepulchral Guard, yeah.
good role players, and Sons of Elmorn like is obviously like pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So they have kind of a good track record.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but every time I look at that warband, I just have full on stupid sexy Flanders moments staring at the beast butt. It's just, it's right out there. Like I'm wearing nothing at all.
He is just rippling over there.
I'm curious to see what they actually do, like what the point of the 3 skeletons is other than to be like 3 zombies, sorry, other than them to be 3 zombies. Cause like the story behind the beast, and it's kind of like Beauty and the Beast kind of thing where like they're lovers and cursed and all that kind of stuff. So like those 2 are neat, but like, yeah, it feels like the other 3 are really tacked on and like they're neat models, but personally, I don't get a ton of joy out of like a different skeleton. I mean, a different zombie sculpt that much. So these are nice ones, but I don't know that I like them more than the regular ones. But I mean, I'm gonna pick it up just because it's Warhammer. So
well, if it falls into Soulblight, if it falls into Soulblight Gravelords, you can play the stupid sexy Flanders model in any Soulblight Gravelords warband.
Man, and stick him in like OBR with the leader, and then just like shoot him across the board. Skiing all over the place.
It's all coming together.
And then lastly, one other preview that caught my eye here. I think can we get this at Adepticon?
It should be.
Yeah, I want this.
Looks like.
It's just cool looking. Looks like it came straight out of Dark Souls or Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a Bloodborne model if I had to be real nitpicky about it. But yes.
It's what is it, the proxy form? It's the arch. It's like the fighting guy from the command corps.
It's an Arch Knight.
Yeah.
So, and the Arch Knights have different familiars or something like that. I caught that much of the lore, but
yeah, they've got the bear one, the fish one, now bird one.
He looks cooler than the other 2 that we've seen so far.
He's got a tactical raven.
Yes. You could probably fit him into Corvus Cabal, David.
Yeah, you could chaos him up and have him be a whatever ally slaves the darkness guy to beef up Corvus if you wanted. You could do there's a lot you could do with him.
Yeah.
The paint job they did on that is so good too. Like that blue on the metal.
Yeah, it really is nice.
It's gonna picking up at least one of those at Adepticon this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't go even that crazy with the metal, right? With all that metal, that's a quick win for me. Bam.
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
undercoat, silver dry brush. I'm 3/4 done.
Black contrast paint, done. Moving on.
3 hours on the Raven though. You got to give him the time.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of good stuff coming here, and can't wait to see the rules for that. We also did get a few new rules here. Just this week, they dropped new Flesh Eater Quartz. Actually, this was it was last week. They dropped new Flesh Eater Quartz. And yeah. So on one hand, I'm happy they're paying attention and gave new models for the range refresh Warcry rules, but they did it at the expense of everything else that was pre-existing. From what I hear, the abilities, and we're not going to go too deep into like all of the abilities and what they can do, but from what I hear, the abilities kind of mirror how they play in Age of Sigmar, which is cool, I guess. They're like a tricksy army now with a bunch of movement tricks and stuff, and we can see some of that with the Gore Warden's ability and stuff like that. I'm focusing more on what they lost, and what they lost was Chosen of the King, Terrifying Frenzy on the Varghulf, Bringer of Death, the movement triple. So unfortunately, all the things they used to do, like the movement and the hard hitting that they had on their models, is gone.
That's the
it's a
thing,
completely
right?
different faction.
Because Bringer of Death was such an iconic core thing that FEC was like completely, like, their identity was really tied to that, and taking it out, it's like, I don't even know. Yeah, it's completely different. Winds of Shyish is like pretty good, but
Oh yeah, and the Gore Warden model is amazing, but
they added some that don't have the word crypt in their name, so that's some diversity. That's good, but yeah. It's rebuild
the
from the
cool.
up.
Yeah, the Herald looks cool. The Executioner looks cool. I've seen a couple lists on Discord that are just using nothing but the new models, and they look. I mean, they would be great showcases of the new models. And I'm not even that mad that like everything I have is kind of like obsoleted, but yeah, I'm not looking at redoing everything for Flesh Eater Quartz right now. So I'm gonna keep it in my box. I'm gonna keep it as is, and it's just gonna be Flesh Eater Quartz minus all the abilities. I'm gonna play it versus newcomers, and I can reuse the ghouls. I can paint up a couple Royal Beast Slayer heroes, and I have everything else needed for that. So that's going to be a project coming up where I can just paint up a few models and then have a completely new warband.
From a competitive standpoint, of course, the issue is they didn't address how bad ghouls are.
No, they made them worse. I didn't show them. They went from 55 points to 60.
I feel like you're ignoring the fact that now that they are 60 points, Warren, they did get a classic GW Warcry buff in that they were given the ability to do Inspiring Presence on a double for another ally with the minion room mark. So I feel like you're really overlooking how powerful that is.
Like, they were bad at 55, and they're pretty bad at 60. So
they are.
Their reaction's still so good though. Like for an 8-point model that's 3 toughness, like
they weren't bad. They were just cheap, and you got what you paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate planes runners. They do what they're supposed to do for 55 points, which is run around fast and hopefully don't get killed. Now compare them to like the Cities of Sigmar models that are also, was it Bleak Swords 55 points, and they're just strictly better. No,
they have Steel Helms in the Castlights that are 60.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of 65 pointers or 60 pointers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they're like the worst of all of them. Is my point, right? Like, they get outcompeted by like almost every other option at the same price point. So I don't know. That's going to be a weakness of FEC unless it gets addressed, because their chaff is non-competitive with other chaff models. But cool new models as far as sculpts go, and I don't know, maybe there's something you can do with the new abilities to make something good. I would probably play Royal Beast Flayers. If I had to play FEC at a competitive level right now, I think that's probably the way I would rather go. But
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I've been pinging Great White Nope and seeing what he wants to do and what his ally choice is. So
last time I talked to him about it, he was messing with the Crypt Guard, really trying to make some walls of extra wounds for things. So I think they're just so completely different in a way that like the skill floor is so much higher to play them well. There's no clear build as soon like you scan it and there's nothing that screams at you like, hey, play me, so it's definitely going to be like a faction that if you love it, you're going to absolutely love it because there's just so many options to mess around with and like tiny little tweaks that might be situationally amazing, but it's not nothing super obvious.
Yeah, a lot more finesse, a lot more finesse and a lot less room for error because even like the Executioner, you bless it with attacks and it hits real hard and it's real tough and scary, but it only has 18 wounds now.
Yeah.
And the Gore Warden is, nice model, but doesn't hit very hard, 220 points, 20 wounds. So you don't have a lot of room for error with your finesse warband.
If you put a Gore Warden on the table too, not only is it frail in statistics, it's also a fairly frail model. So maybe weight that thing down. I think it's on a 40, and it is like a massive wingspan. And I've heard a lot of stories about fingers breaking off that thing. So if you're going to invest in it, definitely be very, very cautious with it.
Oh boy. Yeah,
it's like 2 feet tall on a 40 millimeter base.
It's like a brand new Gertrude. It's anthropomorphized Gertrude.
Oh,
the Herald is sick though. I'm super excited about that ability.
It's funny you should mention weights actually.
Mm-hmm.
You can put lead weights inside of your Gertrudes and they get a lot less top heavy and a lot less. You'll still catch them on your arms and stuff like that, but it's a lot harder to do if you put a ton of weights in them. And you can put a lot of weight in them. Someone I was playing with over Christmas had done that, and it was pretty genius.
I was just thinking it's guaranteed to rip a hole in my sleeve now because I'm gonna scoop it up. It's gonna get caught.
So let's see what happens with new FEC. Maybe someone proves me wrong. I love to be proven wrong. But you ready to get to some lists? We're going to cover, and we're going to go back to stuff that we know is tried and true and what works here. So first off, this is a list. I'm glad you're on, Dave, because I'd shown you this list. We had this for the last episode, but I somehow missed it or didn't cover it. But this was back in December from Poland. And I'm going to mess up the pronunciation here too. I believe it's pronounced Mikau. It's not an L. It's pronounced differently in Polish. But his list: Dark Oath War Queen with plus strength, Ogroid Myrmidon with extra wounds, Fulmoroid Crusher with extra movement, 3 Marauders with flail, and a Marauder with shield for 1,000 points, 7 models. I'll turn over to you, Dave. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I like it. It's got a lot of threats. The Myrmidon and the Crusher together is a little crazy. Most people tend to go one or the other. I never get any Marauder other than a flail. I would never play any Marauder other than a flail Marauder, but to each their own. I'm sure there's something he saw or wanted, but yeah, I like it. I normally when I play the War Queen, as you know, I like to give her a little more wounds. But strength is definitely interesting. Make those 5 hits count.
Yeah, I'm wondering for going for the shield. It looks like there was just the extra 5 points available to go up to the 1,000. So.
Yeah, I think I would probably just keep the extra 5 points. Yeah. Maybe there's a blessing that you want just 5 extra points. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah.
I've never seen wounds on a Myrmidon before. That's a really interesting shout.
I like that actually because it gives you a longer window for the Myrmidon's Berserk ability.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I've actually toyed with that before because of that. You get just a little bit extra Berserk time before it goes down.
And it does the 30 versus the 35 on those two, like having played both of them, you notice it. You notice those 5 wounds even at 6 toughness. Crits still don't care. So, yeah.
Right.
Cool play.
I would definitely run this list and see how it goes. Like I like it.
Just imagining that Fomeroid just running 6 across the board, rushing for 7, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
2-inch reach. Yeah, that's a big threat radius. I mean, generally speaking, point for point, I play when I have a slot for one of those. I play the FOMO like every time. I like the Fomeroid Crusher. I like the wounds you get with it. But that's a big threat radius on that Myrmidon.
You got threat radiuses everywhere here, though, right? You got the 3 inches on the Marauders. I mean, the War Queen has that attack buff if you feel like using it that can help out. Yeah, 2 inches on the Myrm. Like, just you're reaching out a lot of the time and being able to get where you want or be able to hit something that's not hitting you back.
5524 is a certainly an attack profile on the Dark Oath War Queen right there.
Yeah, that's like Chaos Lord profile.
It's similar to Chaos Lord. Yes, the old 1.0 Chaos Lord was what, 5535?
Yeah, that's the Chaos Lord on the Krakadrak is 5535.
The Glizzy on the Lizzie.
Lizzie on the Lizzie.
Yeah. So this is a great advertisement for the Hegrax's Pit Beasts box if you haven't picked it up already.
Yeah, 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and I actually was looking the other day for just a Fomeroid, and it's way easier to just get the box than it is to find the single models now.
Yeah. Well, they're online only. Or
You got this-
online only or certain third party sellers.
There's 2 different builds for the FOMO and the Mind Stealer too. So if you've only got one, you might as well get the other one. Get a new skin for it.
I thought they were the exact same models.
No, they have different options.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
The FOMO has different things.
Warren's gonna need 5 minutes. He's got to hop on eBay real quick.
Yeah. Now I'm like, is there multiple options for the Myrmidon too?
No,
Don't think so.
he's just got the one build, sadly. Although you buy a box of Therodons, that's the only use for him in Warcry right now.
Oh yeah. Anyway, but now we're back to January lists. And well, first off here, we're going to give a shout out to, so there's a new site out there. A member of the community, I believe his name, he goes by Trolls. He built this website, wartally.com. And there's only a handful of tournaments on there right now, but think of this as a Warcry specific version of Best Coast pairings, because Best Coast pairings, even though it's the de facto standard for Games Workshop games, hasn't really been updated, and there's a lot of bugs with regards to how it runs Warcry tournaments. And I'm still dealing with it myself, so I'm looking forward to using Wartally for the next tournament that I run.
Cool.
Yeah, very
Ton
cool.
of props to him for creating this too. It's so cool putting it out there for the community, and everybody's like, I know Justin over at Tabletop and Beyond's been like, we would love to have an app for it, or our own Warcry specific thing, and Homeboy went out and did it. So mad props to Trolls. What an awesome dude.
Yep. And all the lists are there, no subscription needed or anything else like that. Just needed to create an account. So that's pretty cool. That's where these lists are from. So first up, we got the Copenhagen Commotion from Denmark. And here we have our first Nurgle list with a couple other changes here. We have Christian with Plague Ridden, Varangard with the Unforged Blade, Enlightened Aviarch on disc for the second big threat, and then 7 Plague Bears, 1,000 points, 10 models.
So first of all, obviously the list is very, very good because it has 7 Plague Bearers in it. And
Vanguard, you get your classics.
Yeah. When you start with Plague Ridden, 7 Plague Bearers, and then fill in from there, you could, almost kind of pick models at random and you'd have a competitive list. But the Varangard is like kind of the other auto-include you see in these lists. Varangards are insane. They're probably my favorite piece in the game at the moment in terms of they're really killy, they're reasonably tough, and they're so good at putting damage where you want it, across the table with Relentless Killers. They're double. They can move 10 and functionally attack twice, and it's really ridiculous. The thing that interests me a lot about this list is the Aviarch is sort of another piece that's good at moving across the table and putting a lot of damage. So you have 2 of those rather than like the fast Vanguard and then like the slower tanky model that you kind of see a lot, like a Fomoroid Crusher, or like I used to play the Fly Lord from Nurgle Mortals, Lord of Afflictions.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was move 6, but it has like 40 million wounds and it's also relatively killy. But the interesting thing about this list is that the Enlightened Aviarch on a disc does give you something to do with triples. Something that a lot of the other Nurgle lists, the Nurgle lists that I tend to play or that you see, a lot of times they want to just make like a million doubles, and they don't have any use for any other dice. So having a good triple is really interesting.
When this one, Warren, the one that you've pointed out here with that Guided by the Past, with having 10 models that typically don't die, the Vanguard that's going to be lifting stuff, if you get to pop that Aviarch last, right? I mean, it's really taking advantage of that ability. Great spot for in the list.
Yeah, you're going to get that opportunity. The hard part about playing Tzeentch and trying to make the most out of that ability is oftentimes you're like 6 or 7 models and you're not guaranteed to have a good target or have the Aviarch go last. Here, you can pretty much always guarantee the Aviarch goes last if you want it to.
Yeah, and when you do that, it's really a good assassin piece. 4 toughness, 26 wounds at 275 points is, that's a little bit of a concern, right? That can get blown up. But really interesting. It's really interesting. I like to have like just a true tank in that spot, and this is kind of going the exact opposite, where it's like a fast assassin piece. And ever since I saw this list, I've been thinking about it a lot. And I might have to try it.
Warren, do you know how many people were in this tournament?
I do not off the top of my head. I think they're all fairly small, but the data's on there, unfortunately.
Where does the cutoff for 4 rounds in a Swiss tournament?
I don't know if it was necessarily the 16 players that would require 4 rounds, or if it was just however many people showed up and they just played 4 rounds.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, going undefeated, right? Hard to argue with results, and yeah, I think it's not knowing the pack as well. I think that's may have factored into going, Fred, kind of what you said, right? Typically in these lists, you see that absolute hammer piece on top of the mobile kind of threat that the Vanguard provides. But if there's more need to be mobile, then I can see that. Like, I mean, even thinking about this in like a Rumble Pack mission, you're in pretty good shape. You got 2 absolute lightning quick Usain Bolt guys ripping around, blowing stuff up, and then Plague Bearers marching wherever they need to be. So, you're really doing some serious work. So it's super cool. You got that 2-inch range on that disc as well, so you can kind of stay out of engagement, maybe protect some of those 26 wounds a little bit better too.
And if you're worried about something like a KO list, for example, the Aviarch is really good at killing like KO leaders with Fight for Profit. Like just being in there and one-shotting them is like a real possibility with Guided by the Past. So if you're trying to kill like mid-range support heroes, like as a metagame choice, I can see this list performing really, really well there.
Yeah. That's why I'm just thinking you got a 666 out there, 555, 666 though, right? Like you're hitting 8, 10 on a triple for 5 attacks.
Yeah. So, not super high strength, but really good at killing those like middle of the road heroes that have good abilities. I wouldn't want to put him in range of like a true hammer, but man, with a decently high triple, you might just kill it. You might just kill it.
Yeah, I'm thinking you roll 3 crits if you pop that ability on the 5 dice, which is, unlikely, but not so unlikely you'll never see it. You're just lifting a Myrmidon from full on 3 hits from that. Like, that's nuts.
Yep. Good game. That's where you put your hand across the table and just good game.
Go ahead and start drinking at that point. Start the beers up.
So to answer your question, 12 players in the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, reasonable size.
Yeah, for sure.
So second place, we have more Vanguards. So this time the mobile hammer in Horns of Hashut. So kind of taking the place of the Fomoroid Crusher we've seen in some other lists. Double Flame Hurler, 5 Shatterer, Leader with the Flail, Vanguard. Only 975 points and no blessings or anything else like that. Just ran it like that, it looks like.
I respect that, because the only way to fix the points in Horns of a Shut is to play those like really horrible
The
Demolisher
105 Demolishers, yeah.
melee guys, and they're really bad. So just don't play them, man. Just take the hit.
Yep.
This list is really good. If you're listening to this and you haven't played against double Flame Hurler, it is outrageous. It feels so unfair when you just get blown off the board by Flame Hurlers. Super good. And of course, Shatterers are insane too.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got a decision to make, like turn one. It's like, okay, you probably want to charge down one of the Flame Hurlers, but then the Varangar is going to charge you down and clean you up if you're not something that can stick around. So, yeah, really, really interesting, like counter pressure. Like they force you to make the first move, but then they also have a counter to that first move a lot of the time, which is a really, really cool synergy to have internally.
Yeah, and like Shatterers are really good at setting screens, right? When you have 5 of them, you can just kind of space them out through the middle of the board, and they have that 2-inch range, and they're relatively tough. And it's just all of a sudden you can really constrict your opponent's ability to move freely, because they're going to get tied up with a Shatterer that's going to take like a full turn to kill. So when you get behind victory points wise against a list like this, it can be kind of hard to catch up, because they can really start spreading out and just gumming up the board. They kind of play like skeletons from like Soulblight Gravelords, where you can just like fan them out, and it's like, all right, it's going to take you 4 turns to just chew through all this to get across the board. And then they just flame hurl you to death. That's cool. I played a list similar to this, but I had like a FOMO Crusher in the Varangard slot. But man, Varangards are so good.
So good. Yeah, this is a solid list.
So we've had a lot of Slaves of Darkness representation, a lot of Chaos representation. Let's get back to Ogres, because I know you were looking at playing Ogres. So here's an Ogre list for you.
Gorlock, let's go.
Yeah, this kind of shows you can take pretty much any mix of Ogres and probably do well with it. So we have a Gutlord. Gutlord we've seen before. We have Gorlock Black Powder, the upgraded Man-Eater. We have a Gorger, a Brugit, because you always want a Brugit to go with your Ogres. And you got Shriek, Bushwhacker, and Quiv to go along with them. So 990 points, 7 mana.
You got the Gorger without a Beast Rune mark in this one too, so he can scoop up treasure, do everything that you want your Gorgers, other than the leader from Gorger Mallpack to do, and for pretty similar points cost too. It's a cool ally. Or no, it's not even an ally, it's part of the faction.
Man, I've always really liked Gorlock Black Powder. I'm glad to see this list using it. Point for point, are there like just maybe could Ogres field something that's like slightly more efficient point for point? Maybe. But when you use his like triple to get that 5-4, 2-4, 10-inch range profile, it feels so good.
Yeah, it's a cool one. Chucking 5 dice range, you never get to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just, and of course in melee, he's just like a Man-Eater, and that's like really good. So yeah, and Gutlords, of course, ever since 2.0 gave him an extra attack for free. They've been really good. Like they were tempting to play at that exact profile for like 2 attacks at 6 strength, 5'10", and then they just gave him a 3rd attack, and it's like sweet. Yeah, but very cool.
Yep, watch out for Gutlords. They're still very, very dangerous. Still out there in the meta.
They're still doing what they do.
Shopping.
So next up, we got a very interesting tournament from Poland here. So Warcry and Dungeons, and this was, I don't know if you heard about this one, Mike. This was an all catacombs tournament they had in Poland.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool looking.
Throwback. Would love to be able to play or put something like this on. Just as such a different way to play the game. Like it looks like Warcry, but it does not play like regular Warcry.
No, it doesn't. Any guesses on who came out on top though for this tournament?
I did see this one, so I will abstain from putting a guess out there.
I don't know much about Catacombs. So I
Yeah.
don't know if lists are good in Catacombs.
Well, I'm not sure
Nighthawks.
either. You would be, well, we haven't covered a KO list, so here we go.
Ah. Let's see. Yes, this is a good KO list.
Yep. We have an Admiral, we have 2 Captains, we have a Thunderer with a Fumigator at 105, 4 Arcos with pistols, 2 Thunders with either cannons, 2 Arcos with Sky Pikes, 1,000 points, 12 models.
And a whole bunch of hallways to just shoot down.
Yeah.
With firing corridors.
Yep. Hey, go ahead and keep walking towards me in the only
Yep.
way that you can with no cover. And guess what? I'm going to just stand here and keep blasting.
And what to me, when I see KO lists, the first thing I look at is, does it have a source of fight for profit for every deployment group? And
It does.
2, is it playing admirals over engine riggers? And this one is, so it gets my thumbs up. Those are my 2 kind of go-to like pillars for building KO.
And this also shows
also-
that you don't need you actually don't necessarily need, well, in this tournament at least, the 250 or 275 point big ally. You can run nothing but foot guys and big guns.
Yep.
I am a little bit surprised that there's no balloon in there. Like I would be so tempted to bring at least 1 balloon to a Catacombs board just because the movement is so restrictive. But turns out I was dead wrong. It was the incorrect choice. Just bring a bunch of guys with guns. Usually works.
Yeah, just bring a bunch of Aether cannons, man. And a bunch of fight for profit. Rock and roll.
In second place, we have Artos with Seraphon. So he's got a Hunters of Huanchi with Chameleon Skink Alpha with the club, a Chameleon Skink with the club, 2 of them, some blessings being thrown around here too, 3 Huanchi's Claw, Kixi Taka and Otapodal to kind of add flavor and buff up the numbers, give you some extra tough chaff. And we're going to bring in Knave Black Talon with a +1 damage blessing. So at 315 points, she goes to a 6.5/3.4 profile. So she's your heavy hitter here.
Yes, as she often is if you're playing.
Yeah.
That attack profile is already crazy good. It's like an unnerfed, the old leader of Tarantulos Brood in 1.0 had that 6
Broodmaster.
attack, 6.4/2.4, and that's really good. And this is 6.5/2.4.
Back in the dark days of 1.0 Spider dominance.
Yeah. Yes. The only 2 good, that list had 2 good models in it, and it was the leader and the Spider, and they were both insane. You max out on all of them. But
this is another stand in a hallway and just keep shooting down there while Neve runs around and murders things, right? Like you've just got.
Yep.
I guess there's two clubs in there though, which I don't think have any range profiles, which is kind of surprising. Auto paddle, super cool. If there's nobody near him, he probably gets a ton of free moves in Catacombs. Nothing within 12 inches, you can just take a free move action for a double. Yeah, Kixi does some cool stuff too. So yeah, turns out Catacombs, just shoot.
I think if model availability or kit bashing
Sure
isn't a limitation, that just becomes like 5 Huanchi's Claws.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. And I'm trying to think. Well, there's some conversion though, because you have to do converting to get.
Yeah, you gotta give him a spear, and then you gotta give him a nice helmet or something like that.
Or again, you just do what I did in 1.0 for spiders. You didn't get that many spiders in a box, so I just bought 4 boxes. There you go.
Yeah, look, if you're gonna be total scum and spam a model, you gotta put the money into it, right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, if I'm playing 13 of them, I might as well have real Games Workshop plastic, I guess. But yeah, I mean, obviously claws are really good.
I like the attack on Neve. I think that's a really good choice.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because the one thing I've seen, Knave does some work, absolutely, but the 2/4 profile, it's not like a 3/5 profile. Now she makes up for it because she gets 6 dice and she's almost always hitting on 3s, but the 3/4 makes it even scarier.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
mathematically,
points.
I think it's the right choice too. I think it pushes your damage up if you because you pay the same for the attack
Yeah.
or the damage.
Yeah. Well, what else
But
are you gonna give her +1 strength?
which I mean, yeah, in Catacombs doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. You're probably not fighting a ton of Stormcast, or I don't know. You should expect Stormcast at every tournament, I guess.
Give her
Seems
extra movement.
safe bet.
Like, what else can you give her
Yeah, she doesn't need. Yeah,
for a
doesn't need
blessing
much
that
else.
makes sense?
Maybe strength on the ranged attack if you're. But I mean, you
Come
kind of
on.
just want her to begin it.
Yeah, I want a 315-point shooter.
To do
Say
one
that,
damage
like,
on the strength,
don't-
probably at the crit then. Cheaper at least.
Yeah, very interesting list though. And yeah, we're seeing Neve Black Talon. Is it Neve or Knave?
think it's
I always thought it was
Neve.
Neve, but then Dan was insisting it's Knave.
It might be Knave.
Who's seen the show in Warhammer Plus? Any of
Mm-mm.
us? No. If you're in the comments, if you're listening, you get the crowd participation. Tell me how it's pronounced in the comments.
Warren,
I
this
should
is a
just-
dangerous path to take. You're asking to be
I'm
corrected on
farming.
YouTube.
I'm farming engagement here. I'm going to make some just straight up bad mispronunciations, some bad calls. You just make some mistakes, and I want people to jump on me in the comments. Let's do it. Oh, on a channel note, we actually hit 400 subscribers. Just
Nice.
randomly people popping up. Yeah, I'm going to keep. We'll
Hey.
keep doing this, and we'll keep throwing the word out. People are trickling in.
I love it.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This next one, I'm glad we got you on, Dave. We got several lists here that are built just for you to analyze. Third place, we have Balance with Kagra, Zarshia, Razik, Kragan,
Again.
Goral Spinehammer, Lupian Longcut, and Crimson Kira. 2 Underworlds warbands mashed together.
Named characters only.
What a
Yeah.
And
legend.
obviously, if you're running Dower Kragan, something's going very right in your life. You know.
Yes.
So
What a privilege. What a privilege to run Dower Kragan.
it's where you want to be.
So dour.
It's
So-
in Catacombs. I think Kager's got more play. Just beat Zarsha, getting those teleports off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's where
we're-
you want to be.
Yeah, we're
And,
we're all
that's
very
it.
familiar and love Kagra's Ravagers. I put the stats for I can't remember their name. They're in the Gnarlwood box though.
The Gnarl Spirit pack. I
Yeah.
think.
Yep. But I got their stats and their abilities here. So they have some decent abilities. They all have the same set of abilities there.
They're super cool models too. I mean, this is probably up there. Had to be up there with one of the best looking, just like modified warbands that was at the tournament. So many great pieces.
Yeah. I'm regretting letting my set of them go now. I bought the box for the Sons of Elmorn, and I didn't want the Gnarl Spirit, or someone else wanted the Gnarl Spirit pack, so I shipped them off to him.
I think there's a local guy, Warren, I could hook you up with. I think he just put it up yesterday.
Ooh.
You say the word. I got the plug.
Ooh. Collecting all the Slaves of Darkness stuff that's under the sun.
It's the way to do it.
They have weird attack profiles. All of them do. And I'm not saying that they're bad attack profiles. They're just strange attack
They're
profiles.
very extreme, right? 5-3-1-4,
5-3-1-4
3-5-2-5.
is weird. Yeah. But this is
if
like,
you look at the abilities, though, because on a double, any of them can get +1 move, +1 attack. So like Girl Spinehammer goes to 4-5-2-5. Or look at the triple, right? Any of them gets +1 hit on +1 hit and +1 crit. So Crimson Kira goes to 5-3-2-5 on a triple. Right?
yes,
That gets
Yeah.
nasty.
this is just like pure mid-range the warband, which is really interesting because like a lot of times when you're trying to build competitive lists, you stay away from like the 150 to 200 point models. You tend to min-max like a lot of chaff and a lot of big heavy duty hammers. So this is just like I'm throw all that right out and just play nothing but 120 point models. And I think it's sweet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's great that it did well.
If you're not playing like super tuned competitive warbands, I think there's still a space for mid-range stuff. Now, the other things we're looking at, right, like the Slaves to Darkness or the Nurgle with the two big threats, and what was Salty calling the strategy? Smalls and talls, right? The two monster threats, and they're just a ton of chaff or something like that. Yeah, I think the smalls and talls strategy is like one of the dominant ones. But yeah, good honest mid-range, because I have my Chaos Legionnaires, right? Good honest mid-range Warcry is fun and effective too, I think.
But like where games in general tend to break is on the fringes, right? Like like the super cheap models and the super expensive models tend to be
Gut Lords at the highest end, Plague Bearers at
right.
the lowest.
Like the algorithm tends to get a little fuzzy when it gets to really cheap and really expensive. So that's where the game tends to push you, is to those fringes where you get the best value for your points. But there's nothing wrong with a Chaos Warrior, especially
And really,
right?
the handful of times I have played with Zarshia and Kagura and their band, like that teleport is really powerful. And a lot of
Is it a triple?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, teleports are just. I played Ephelum recently, and they're just so much fun. There's obviously the new FEC guy that's got it, but yeah, they get wild. Start zipping stuff across the board out of nowhere, catch someone off guard, put it in a place that they weren't mentally prepared for it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very cool idea. Congrats to Ballant for releasing with this. Next up, we have our favorite quarterly Norwegian tournament, Norcry. And we have a back-to-back champion here. We have Christian. He won Norcry last year as well. Again with KO with the Bloodrack Medusa. Slightly different configuration this time. He had the Bloodrack, the 140-point Endrin Master with Endrin Harness. Just one Thunderer with either cannon this time. I think he had two last time. Annihilator with Prime with Hammer for 180. 3 Arcos with Pistol, and an Arcanaut with Skypike. So down to 8 models, 930 points, leaving 70 points for Flexi Blessings.
Okay. I was going to say, because you could easily fit just like another pistol in that list. But yeah.
No, they have Flexi Blessings as well. And on the screen here, I've shown, I believe, what the blessings that they used last time, or the most common blessings would have been +1 attack on the Bloodrack Medusa, taking it to 305, +1 strength on the Ether Cannon, taking it to 125, and there's still a handful of points. I don't know how many, 25 points left for a blessing somewhere else.
Get a move on your Annihilator with 25 points. Might be scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my hand. I would rather have, even if you were like running out of points, I think you could put movement on the Annihilator or whatever rather than put strength on the Thunderer, for example. But if you have points to do both, do both.
Endrin Master's another target for a blessing too. Spice him up a bit.
Yeah. We talked about it in the previous list. I don't like Endrin Masters, but this player obviously knows what they're doing with the list. They have good success with it. Only one big gun is really interesting, right? Like a lot of what you see with KO is like maxing out like at least 2 Aether Cannons, sometimes 3. So to play 1 and then these big melee hammers is definitely a different way to go. But
yeah. Well, there's only one KO leader, so
yep.
You only need 1 gun. There's the chaff, and then you have 3 legit threats, right? You got Endrin Master, fights hard, or the combination of the Endrin Master with the Ether Cannon. Bloodrack can solo, half the game herself, and Annihilator Prime. We were chatting on Discord, and I can't remember what the comparison was, right? Something would lose a fight to Annihilator Prime, but that isn't saying much, right? Most models in the game is point for point versus an Annihilator's.
Yes.
So
this is a Wombat's list from Discord. I think he's probably sleeping right now, but I just DM'd him to see if he could tell us what the spread for his blessings was. But I don't think we'll hear from him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Discord handles. Yeah, the Discord handles were not on the list. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's Wombat. He's a good dude. Despite playing KO, I still think he's a good dude.
The other thing about this list that interests me a lot is that what do you do with that 275 points, and it's a clean swap, right? You can play that balloon, you can play the blood rack. The blood rack is a really good model, but it competes with your leader for triples. But with only one leader in the list, you're not building around fight for profit so much. So maybe that's not as much of a concern, right? Like with my list, it's like I really want fight for profit in every group. But if you only have one use for that, you have the option of deciding where your triples go a little bit, depending on the game state. And obviously, the blood rack with a triple in your pocket is a very scary threat.
Blood rack stare on Medusa, is that a double or a triple?
The triple for her.
Okay. That's the triple I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's anything. I'm pretty sure it's 2-up net for her. So yeah, it's, I mean, just a real good piece to have. And yeah, I agree though. I think not having a bunch of other places where you really want to be spending that makes it, one, a more legitimate threat for your opponent to have to consider, and two, yeah, it makes it a lot easier to be willing to pop that off. I don't think she's an auto one. I think she's a 2-up one, but it's just crazy though. Like you said, Fred, like, okay, do you want to stick one of the balloon boys in there at that point? Do you want to stick Knave in there? Do you want to stick Blood Rack? Do you want to stick an Achillean King in there? Like, you bring any one of those massively mobile, like big order threats and just fly around while everything else just shoots the rest of the board. And it's a great mix.
Yeah, it just shows that the formula for KO, I mean, there's many paths to success, and it's very hard to build an actively bad KO list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like it's harder to build a bad one than it is a fairly playable, like, top quarter of the field one.
Yeah.
Like, look how different this list is than the other KO list we looked at. Like, it is fundamentally different. It would play completely different from on the table. Like, the other one was heavy fight for profit, big guns, stand and shoot. And this is like big melee threats with guns around the edges. They're just completely different strategic lists, and they're both very, very good with good results to back it up. That's KO.
Yeah. So we can get something else completely different here. We have Tzeentch Mortals. We have a Magister. Yeah, we have a Magister. This is from, that's from that would be the leader. Bringing in a Pyrocaster from the demon side. 4 mutants, the 85-point Zangor, and a Fomoroid Crusher. So again, we're seeing that, like, as long as you have a Fomo Crusher in your warband as your big guy, you're pretty good. And mutants we know are good.
15
a little bit.
What you get with your mutants.
15 wounds, move fast, 4-3-1-4, fairly threatening in combat. Yeah. And then 960 points for that. I can only assume that the remaining points are going to be a +1 strength on the Pyrocaster and on the Magister's shooting attacks.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That 15 range is nuts.
Yeah, so that's the first thing I noticed, right? You have a lot of 15. That's a lot of 15-inch range. And 4.424 at 15 inches is an uncommonly good shooting profile.
The only thing, Warren, that I can think of not going the strength on those is Tzeentch does have that double to just add to your strength. So I wonder if it did end up going into the FOMO instead.
Is that it could be done for the FOMO, right? Because we've seen the plus attacks in the FOMO. Is the plus strength applicable to range attacks though?
Let me just double check real quick. Yeah, off the top of my head.
And can the does the Pyrocaster have access to it? It very well could be just like all in on the FOMO, which is not a bad strategy either.
No.
You win a lot of games just with that.
I've said it before and I'll say it again that the FOMO Crusher is just every point goes exactly where you want it. There's not a wasted point on that model. Like, it all goes into the stats that win Warcry games, right? Like, it's so good. It feels so ridiculous whenever you get early combat with any other unit.
I looked it up real quick. So it can actually only go on missile attacks, and it's any
right.
hero that has it. So yeah, I think you'd probably dump it into the FOMO. Although, I mean, if you want to use your dice elsewhere, I don't know where you're using them other than like Rush or Onslaught with the FOMO if you're not dumping those doubles into the ranged guys. So I would guess probably chucking an extra attack on a FOMO, 4 attacks on those guys too, like you said, Fred, when it's already doing so much great, and then you just stick that extra attack on it to really slice through things. It feels incredible.
Yeah, it really does. And the other thing too is you can dump points into it because it's such a tough model. The odds of it getting gibbed before it can get its point back are so low that you can put a blessing on it and know you're not wasting those points on something that's going to get, sniped or crit to death before it can act. So just a good target for blessings in general.
Yeah, interesting. That's the one thing about flexi blessings. We never really know exactly where they go unless we can get the pilot on. So
it's really fun to think about, though. It's an interesting puzzle to try to reverse engineer.
Looking
at the list on paper.
If I'm playing Stormcast, I might just chuck all my points into putting crits on those Angor mutants, because 4 dice, if I'm critting on 5s, I just want to get through 20 wounds. I want a nice, one, it cuts down 1 attack, 1 crit that I need to get on them. So it might be helpful to do that too.
it might be an option too. Here's another. So here I got another puzzle for you then in that same vein. So 3rd place, we have Andreas. So again, we have the Nurgle smalls and talls structure here. Sloppy Biopiper, 7 Plague Bearers. We already have a recipe for a winning list. Ogroid Myrmidon and a Wrathmaster at 210.
Love seeing the Wrathmaster. Yep. I know it doesn't get a ton of love, but man, it just looks, it's such a fun model. 6 dice, 2 range, just chalk, baby. Throw dice.
You could do some cool Nurgle conversions on that too. Just give him like a big tentacle arm that he's whipping around or something.
I love it.
So this one, it's 955 points. So this one, I do assume that the Ogroid Myrmidon is getting +1 attack, leaving 15 points to put on the Wrathmaster somewhere. So I've kind of shown the 2 places where it might go. You might want to give it 4 extra wounds. I don't think that's a bad idea. Taking up to 29 wounds means that it's going to live a while to fight. Or with the 15 extra points, you could just give it +1 crit. Not a terrible idea if you have 6 attacks.
Yeah, I like +1 crit.
Yeah, I'd actually probably go strength just so I'm not so worried about counter against stuff that's like T4, because you're chucking 6 dice every time for the same reason you're going wounds worn. I might defensively add strength.
You can't afford strength though. You only have 15 left to spare if you're putting 30 into the.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't realize he was over the 22 points.
Yep.
Or 22 wounds, sorry. Yeah. I'd probably go wounds for sure then.
Here's what you could do if you were rebuilding the list. You could take out the Sloppity Bilepiper and replace it with a Plague Ridden.
It gives you 40 more points for blessings. Do what you want, or extra Plague Bearer.
Because
just an extra body.
Personally, I don't like the Sloppity Bilepiper. I don't think you need it when you have 7 Plague Bearers. What you lose in speed, you make up for in numbers, right? They just fan out. And they're going to get where they're going. You don't need to sloppity them around the board. So that's a way to do it too. Just get those.
I've seen that in your games, and then the one game I played against you with your guys. Yeah, it was.
Did you?
I just followed that.
Saying like, I wish I could +1 move these guys. No, you're just like they get where they're going.
Yeah, I just what I do in the game that we played, right? It was your KO versus your Nurgle list. Yeah, my guys got across the board. They got where they needed to eventually. I used triples. I think, did I set up the Rampage triple on the Varangard?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I think that's one of the best triples. Underrated, I think. Rampage on kill for a triple. I know it's hard to guarantee if you're not spending dice to guarantee the attacks. But when you can set it up, it's well worth it.
Yeah, that's why I use it a lot on the War Queen, because of all her attacks. It's pretty guaranteed you're gonna finish off the slaughter. Yeah.
Long story short, I think the list is sweet. I think Wrathmaster is very cool. I think that it's a really interesting way to get a bursty threat into the list for 210 points, as opposed to a Varangard at 285 or a FOMO at 260. Like, that's a pretty efficient way to get 6 attacks with a good threat radius onto the battlefield. Keep your model count up. Like, the difference between that and even just like a FOMO at 260 is another Plague Bearer, right? Like, that's really interesting. I hadn't considered looking at something like that, but getting another Plague Bearer is not nothing. Those Plague Bearers are really good, and still finding that high damage output while shaving the points down to get more bodies on the board is some very good list building, I think.
Yeah.
They're kind of, I mean, Nurgle Demons is just like KO, right? Like it's really hard to build a bad list with them.
Really hard. It's really hard.
Well, that's okay. It's harder to do it in Nurgle, or I mean, it's easier to do it in Nurgle Mortals because there's a lot of profiles in there that are gonna, like, yeah, if you took a Beast of Nurgle or something like that, it's not gonna feel nearly as good. But you know, if you're just sticking to the 2 things that are good, you're gonna be in great shape.
It's again, it's a blueprint, right? You know, KO. Hard to build a good KO list. Hard to build a bad KO list. Hard to build a bad Nurgle list as long as you're following the rule of the smalls and talls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Enough Plague Bearers, pick the 2
6
beefy heroes of your choice, and you're gonna be better than most.
Great.
Okay. Yeah. So
they're
that
a great
was
place to start if you want to try to get into competitive. I think one, because they're gonna, you know, have a really good high end, but you don't have to think too much about super competitive play. You can see what good chaff feels like and how to spread it out. And it's a pretty, I don't want to call it simplistic and be reductive for what it takes to play them well, but it doesn't take too much like strain of thought to figure out what you should be doing a lot of the time.
And the other thing too, to piggyback onto that, because I agree, the way that Nurgle Demons uses dice is a relatively simple scheme, right? Because none of their abilities are any good. So it simplifies the gameplay down to like Rampage, Onslaught, whatever your big heroes are bringing. It just lets you kind of focus more on the movement and positioning, because you don't have to really worry about like setting up your dice. That's not a big part of their game plan.
Yeah, for sure.
They're doing it on stats and efficiency, not on synergy and abilities, which I think is an easier way to approach the game when you're learning it.
And they let the allies use the dice, right? You get to do the cool thing with the cool models on the table while the little things just shuffle around and swing.
Yep.
Also, probably the best monster shell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, 100%.
Yeah.
If you could play monsters at Adepticon, I wouldn't even be. The list is just, it's right there. There's no tinkering with it. It's, you know, Nurgle Chimera.
Well, you can choose to play Nurglings if you want.
That's true.
Yeah.
You can switch them in and out.
But I'm that guy, right? Like, if I can play Nurgle Chimera, I'm going to play Nurgle Chimera. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I played Spiders.
4 boxes of spiders, right? Yeah, it's
exactly.
there's no shame in this list building.
It's called competitive for a reason.
If I'm going to a tournament, I want to play the best list I can play, and that there is a best list in this game right now, and that's what it is. But taking that out of the game, then it becomes really interesting. What's the next best list in the game? Mm-hmm. And it's probably something that looks a lot like this. It just, instead of playing a Chimera, you have to make your own monster, right? Like, what's the next closest thing to a monster you can play? And it's like probably a Varangard or whatever. You just build the same style.
Damage output. You look at like, okay, let's just chuck 2 FOMOs in there. Then figure that out.
Funny you should mention that.
Oh no!
You should mention that. So we covered Denmark, we covered Poland, we covered Norway. Now we're going to cover the worldwide TTS League, the results from January, and we've been talking about how good Olgroids are, FOMOs are, Varangards. Hey, here's another one: smalls and talls.
Hey,
we got a Varangard with ensorcelled weapon at 290. FOMO Crusher, 7 Marauders with flails. Oh yeah, 970 points, 9 models, 30 points left over for a blessing, plus attacks on the FOMO. Malachi played this to a 4-0 and kind of ran away with the January league. Dave, what do you think about this one?
I think you can get 5 more points for blessings by going to the Demon Forge Blade Vanguard, but that's nitpicking. This is a very solid list, and obviously it went 4-0 for a reason.
Here's my thoughts on this list. Look at those goony nerds with their flails.
I know. I had a good time picking out the graphics for this episode.
I love the close-ups, Warren, too. Get them.
Yeah,
like the rest are just kind of in the background. No, let's get right up in their faces.
If you're listening to this in the podcast version, check us out on YouTube to get all the cool graphics. I kind of outdid myself with the graphics.
Yes.
Such as it was this month.
Just the sexiest flail marauders you've ever seen.
And whatever you're imagining, this is sexier.
Yeah.
This is what peak performance looks like.
It's interesting because as a group we kind of came to the consensus that mathematically we liked Demon Forge Blade, even if you have the 5 points. Like the math.
I mean,
math
we're nitpicking a little bit. I mean, we've seen enough Vanguard lists, and I think there's even some more Vanguard lists. There's enough Crusher lists.
No such thing as a bad Vanguard. Even the Spear one has its merit.
Spear one's totally fine. I agree.
Range to start whacking.
But my point is when you're looking at lists like this, that nitpicking is all there really is to it, right? The shell of the list is very solid. So the only conversation to really have about it is that 5-point change optimal or not? Because like other than that, you get 9 models plus a FOMO plus a Vanguard. It's going to be good.
Having played him a couple of times, he's just an absolute anaconda. Watched a few of his games too. Like, it's really, really great opponent. Understands what to do with those, 7 models that aren't just purely there to kill. Really great at positioning and stuff like that. He is an absolutely excellent pilot, and I really hate that he is branched out. He was dominating with Death. Now he's being fantastic with Chaos. So hopefully he doesn't play any more Grand Alliances to prove that he is, it's just so good.
And I can't. And I can't understate how underrated the Marauders with Flails are. Like, looks aside, the fact that they have 10 wounds, effectively 13 wounds, because as long as they haven't activated, they're going to heal for 3 at least once, if not more. Speaking from playing against it, Dave's been a beneficiary of that a whole lot. Sometimes you need to sink like 16 points of damage into these guys. And if they don't, they're just going to peck away at you. Yeah, I think they're very, very quietly one of the most underrated chaff in the game. No one respects them because of the looks.
The reaction is insane. It's really good. There's not enough points in here to give the Vanguard the free reaction, is there?
I think it's 30. If you don't bless the FOMO, I think it's just 30 points for the.
You could actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been toying with that. Obviously, it's a really expensive model, but like, how do you kill that Vanguard when it just can sit there and gain like health back?
We talked about though. You don't, and so it just becomes 30 wasted points because you just never ever try.
I don't know. I think it's so mobile. You can put it in places where your opponent kind of has to do something about it.
Deal with it,
but. I don't know.
I mean, if you do it and somebody chooses to ignore it, it's just got absolute free reign, and like the only thing you're doing is trying to slow it down with chaff, hoping it doesn't then use the triple for a rampage after that, and old rampage too, right? Free full move, not a value based move. I don't think, right? It's just a regular move action.
Yeah. It's a really hard piece to ignore. It can get anywhere it wants to get. So
there's no good options to attack in this list. Do you want to fight the Crusher, who is going to win the fight against you? Do you want to fight the Vanguard, who is just cleaning up everything? Or like you said, do you want to fight the Marauders that are just going to not die for a while and be really annoying?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how except unless you play KO and you just shoot everything and then they all die. That's the other option, I suppose. But yeah, it's a cool list.
Horns is okay into him too, I think, with the flame. Yeah, just chucking dice into the deployment groups and stuff like that might be helpful, but you've never gone more than 3, so I don't know. Still, I mean, you just spread out then, right? And then make the triples inefficient, and then you're just picking stuff off still. So yeah, so it's a real good list.
Yeah, he went 4-0, and then if you look at the victory points, it was not close. Second place at 3-1, Wade. The next Mike Ike.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So you got to figure out. So what was he was playing? What was the core? The core had to be Knave.
Yeah, it has to be Black Talons.
Knave or Knave with Hendrik the Silver Wolf. So the second biggest guy on the team that can feed Knave actions. You're bringing in Calthea Zandire, and you're bringing Hexbane. And then Hexbane is not bringing Quiet Pock. He's bringing Amos Duncaro, a 3-5-2-4, 15 wounds for 105 points. And then you get a couple dogs at 55 points each as well to fill out your numbers. So 7 models, 990 points.
So how does Amos compare to a Bestigor? They look kind of similar to me off the top of my head.
Pull it up real quick. Give me a second.
Bestigors are a 3-4-2-4, 100 points, toughness 4, 12 wounds. A little glassier than I like for 100 points. So 15 wounds at 15 wounds at 105 is good. The extra point of strength is good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a good upgrade for 5 points.
I feel like I didn't actually get to see any of his games, but I feel like the whole plan with this list is feed Neve extra actions, right? Calthea is doing it, and then Hendrik's doing it as well. So if you got a triple double every round, just let Neve go absolutely wild.
Now,
yes.
And I know the Google Sheet online had the deployment groups. I'm not sure Neve and Hendrik were in the same group though. They might have been. It would make sense to do that, but then you're putting 400 points into the same group.
Yeah.
So.
I think you just do it anyway, right? It's not. I think that you just run the risk of having it deploy late or whatever, but it's still going to make up for it just by free activations. I think even if it deploys later than you wanted to.
They were, Warren. I just checked it. Neve and Hendrik were in the hammer for that one, so they did actually. Yeah, so you're guaranteeing that you're getting those extra ones off.
Like one of your deployment groups is going to suck, but I think that deployment makes up.
You can put Grot Biter and Rat Spike in one group.
Let the boys run. Send them out for the day. Let them out in the field.
Oh, they're having such a good time out there.
And like those attack profiles, like 2-3 damage, like that's the same thing as the egg grot with KMK now. Like
I never noticed that till now. I was more focused on the weaknesses, right? The 2 attacks and 6 wounds.
Yeah.
I mean, for 55 points, again, we talked about ghouls, but you get what you pay for 55 points.
You're just moving them. They're capping objectives, moving, blocking stuff off that is getting in the way.
Move 6 at 55 points. That's interesting. That's
the Beast Rune mark though, so they're getting the discount for not being able to carry treasure.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
They must be small dogs with very short legs. Attack pugs.
I heard somebody on Discord painted their entire Wilder Core recently all as pugs. It might have been Great White No Cow, but it was a great idea.
That is a brilliant idea. Or like dachshunds, that would be pretty sweet too.
I mean, having dogs in the game was just such a brilliant idea. So much, I've seen Dalmatians this week a whole bunch too. Lots of great different dogs you can paint up.
Yeah, that's
I've got
awesome.
my next thing sitting here unpainted, so maybe that'll be a project coming up soon.
Hey, inspiration, you're ready to go now. X-Bane's cool because he's got that attack too. It's not a great attack, but if he just wants to cap a point and doesn't he 4 move, 4 toughness, 20 wounds. When you compare him to bespoke leaders, like your regular, all of the different bespoke leaders, 4 toughness, 20 wounds is pretty common, but he's usually like 50 points cheaper than they are. Kind of a neat little defensive profile that he has, and combine that with the fact that he does have a no min ranged attack. It's a pretty good those two things synergize really well. He doesn't have to charge in, doesn't really want to charge in, and once something does kind of charge him down, he can survive for a little while.
Yeah, well, think
Yeah.
about this. If he wasn't a named character, how many of him would you take?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, you compare him to crossbows and Builder Core. He's a little more expensive, but those wounds. I mean, again, defensively, he's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That profile is worth 125 points. It's not worth 165 points. You know, it's not worth 170 points, but it's pretty aggressive at 125. It doesn't jump off the page at you. It's like,
You gotta
that's gonna
sell
be a
those
game
kits.
changer, but it's not bad.
So coming up next, we got, all right. So here's where the pairings or here's where the results get a little screwy. Third place, we have Caesar Merlin at 2-0-2. So 2-0-2, a worse record than a lot of the 3-1s we're going to see, but he was dominating on major victories and not taking minor loss. And his 2 victories were major victories, no major losses. So third place at 2-0-2.
Let that be a lesson, everybody. Major victories, major losses.
There's another example we'll see too that kind of exemplifies that. Well, we got an Orc Mega Boss at 225, a Bolt Boy Boss. We have my favorite Brute, the Brute with the Gore Choppa at 175.
Yeah.
And then 5 Ard Boys with Choppa and Shield. So their job is,
Ard Boys.
Yep, just stay alive. 970 points, 8 models, 30 points left over to give the Orc Mega Boss +1 attack, which I assume is the play. So again, there's your Mega Titan, your Titan, your Mega Boss on the field that will probably take out anything else one-on-one. A decent shooter is number 2 in the Bolt Boy Boss, and the Brute.
And both bosses are good.
Yeah. Actually, both of them hold their own, and then obviously the rest is very solid as well. So good showing by Caesar.
He's a good player too. I think he's a relatively new convert to Warcry. I think he played a lot of kill team and shows tactically, really knows what he's doing. And and I think Iron Jaws is a great place to demonstrate just a general understanding of how games work too, because they only really have like 2 worthwhile tricks. It's charge and then duff up not duff up, UMessin. And so, you're really just kind of playing regular old Warcry a lot of the time with nothing too fancy, but just a good pile of stats. And slow moving guys, you got to put them where you need them. But yeah, they're still great. They're still real good. And like you said, just not taking those minor victories, getting all of the points out is huge in a tournament.
The ability to use UMessin when you have 8 models is going to make it really hard to outcompete you on objectives if you're in the right place at the right time, right? Because you already have a lot of models, and UMessin can just invalidate the chaff models on top of that. So that's cool. So many Ard Boys. I've never seen a list with 5 Ard Boys in it before. So many. But they're tough, man. They're tough to kill.
Mm-hmm. Fourth place, we have Girth Demon, Rob Viscomi. He's playing the Crew Boys Monster Killers. So he brought in a Gut Lord, gave it +1 attack. This should be a 340.
I was going to say, that's a really good value at 240.
240.
I'd take 2 of them. Maybe think about 3 at that cost.
Yes.
There we go. 340 points. 4, 6, 5, 10. And you have just, kind of one of everything else, right? The Beast Knob's good. You have the Neck Slicer, both variants. You got the Howler. Pretty much, he's got everything in there. Clutcher Grot, Brugit, 1,000 points, 7 models. So again, showing what you can do with 1 box and just one complete monster on the field. There were Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, there were no monsters in this tournament, right?
I'm trying to remember now. Actually, I don't think anybody brought them, but I don't think we use the Warhammer World pack that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So I think you could have brought them if you really wanted to, but I don't think we saw any lists with them.
All right.
So like we were saying before, right? Like if monsters, you're not playing monsters, you find the closest thing, and that Gut Lord is pretty close.
Yeah. Ogres are the next best thing for sure. They get that
Oh.
extra move on a double and all that kind of stuff. I will say, Rob was very mad, despite the fact that we ran this tournament. He was very mad that he ended up fourth despite being 3-0-1 versus a 2-0-2 because he hates major minors. I had to put that.
No, I chatted with him briefly to kind of go over the results and stuff like that. And yeah, he confirmed that it was major minors and stuff. So this just shows. So in addition to winning your games, you have to, I mean, granted, it was one box plus an ally, but
and the Brugge.
you have to pay attention to if you don't want to get beat on tiebreakers, you need to pay attention and not win by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah, you got to play tight in that third and fourth round as the game
protect
starts
models. Either protect or either have tough to kill chaff, protect your chaff, or have just way too much chaff for them to kill to get you the 50% point.
A lot of times going into the fourth round, the game is you can really see how it's going to end. Not all the time. A lot of times, sometimes it comes down to that final roll, but a lot of times, like in some of the missions, like the game is the fourth round is where you're playing for major minor, and you really got to pay attention to that as the game goes late. But man, I'm looking at this Gut Lord. I keep looking at this Gut Lord. And the thing that has me nervous about it is 340 points. Now, that's obviously an insane profile. And like you were saying, they're disturbingly fast because they get that extra move on a double. Plus, he's got the 2-inch range. Plus, he's got might makes right. So if he kills a unit, he can get, additional move or attack activations. But 340 points for 32 wounds has me a little bit nervous about getting like shot to death by an Aether Cannon or something like that. Like I know he's got 5 toughness, but man, that's so many points on 32 wounds.
They're killable. If you want to charge into them, you can definitely get them down. Probably not in the one go, and you'll probably need two good spicy models to get through them all because you're going to lose that first
one of them easily on the way out. But
and ranged attacks, like you said, are great. Like Bolt Boy Boss is really good at chunking them down with that double to crit on 4s. Really, really good piece to fire off against some KO. Obviously, like you said, honestly, even like Hunters of Hawanchi, just that 8-inch, the disengage. So if he whiffs on you in that first attack, you get that disengage action, and then just blow a pipe at him. Really turn it into an inefficient killing field for something like this.
Three hunters spread out. That Gut Lord is going to be very frustrated trying to run them down.
For sure.
Link away and they just crit him every once in a while, and but that mid-range list we were looking at, like all those Chaos Warriors, this guy's going to chew through them. It's going to be ugly. So
melting through it.
Yeah, like what are you going to do? Run Dower Kragan into that? Like, come on.
Dower Kragan will run into that fearlessly.
What a hero!
But he'll do it.
I've been more downly than happily.
So it's been a while since we've had a KO list. So here, have 2 of them. Here we got Clinton and Kaylor, both a 3-1 with KO. Both with a Blood Rack Medusa. On one, you have Endrinmaster with Endrin Harness, Company Captain, 2 Aether Cannon, 4 Arcos with pistols, 925, pretty standard list. The other one, again, a little bit different configuration, 2 Endrin Masters, 2 Aether Cannons, 4 Arcos with pistols, 975 points.
2 Aether Cannons, 4 pistols, plus X is going to be a pretty good list.
I'll give you guys here's a fun activity. These 2 played each other. You want to take a guess at who won? I can't hold on. See if I can.
The one with the Blood Rack Medusa?
Nice. Got it. Nailed it.
The one with the Endrin Master?
My guess is Milk Thief.
Any other takers?
I'll say Kalor just to be on the other side.
Well, you should have just copied. It was Clinton won it.
When 2 KO players fight, we all lose. Or we all win, depending on how many dead dwarves you like.
Or Medusas in this instance, right?
Yes.
Seeing all these Medusas is really, really giving me a lot to think about.
Oh, I know. I have not pulled the trigger on getting on a Medusa yet, but there's a reason I put her on the front cover at the last minute.
I
They
bought
had those
that entire.
those used ones at Loop, and they were tempting.
I bought that entire start collecting that came with the Blood Cauldron, with the Blood Rack Medusa, and I threw the rest of it into the garbage. And I built the Blood Rack Medusa out of it.
I got
So-
super lucky. They had that kit, just the just the cauldron on sale locally, and it was on like 75% off clearance just to get rid of it. And I was like, yeah, that'll do. I'll pay whatever that cost is just for the Medusa and some cool bits.
That Blood Rack to me cost me like $140 for that one.
I mean, they've had multiples in stock at Epic that I have not picked up, but it's only a matter of time. Next time I'm there, if there's one there, it's probably going home with me.
Because here's the thing to keep in mind, Warren. Other than that, the only way to get it is as one of the 2 passenger options on the Blood Cauldron. Like, it is a pain to get new. If you find one used, you should buy it.
Yeah. I mean, there's several of them that are built. Yeah. There may be a Troll Trader order coming in the near future as well. I have my sources.
But both these lists are interesting. I think 2 Engine Masters is a lot of Engine Masters, personally. But again,
people like Engine Masters. They don't like paying that extra 5 points.
And this was his only loss, right? Like they're both 3-1, and Keller's only loss was to the other KO list.
Yeah, but see, looking at them, I just feel like the 5th place list is just naturally advantaged over the 7th place list. I'd much rather have a company captain than another Engine Master. So, but both of them obviously can put out a ton of firepower. So,
and then rounding out here, we have Itan. So again, 3-1, but 10th place. So he got punished as well with a major loss and minor wins being at the bottom of that bracket there. But he was playing, I believe this is standard list from the video. So getting practice
this is
with
his
that.
New and improved claws of whatever.
Yes, hunters of Hawanchi, not hunters of Hawanchi.
But they have that same reaction, right? That's the.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Disengage after an attack action that doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to play against this list. I didn't take this month super seriously, depending on your perspective. I ran a.
Come on, I got. Let me set this up here. So all right, then finally we have one more list. We have an honorable mention. All right, now Mike, be quiet about this one. Don't spoil it.
I'm excited to see it. I can't wait to see what you've got.
We got an over list for you. So all right, we're gonna start with a tyrant. All right.
I love the tyrant.
Looks good so far. All right. You know what we're gonna add to that? We're gonna add another tyrant.
Even better than one tyrant.
All right.
What could be better than 2 tyrants?
How about 3 tyrants?
Oh,
God, that's sexy. And you have points for blessings.
And you have points for blessings too, yeah. And names for them as well.
They were the three musketeers is what they got named after.
Mm-hmm.
they're fancy,
Oh my
like
God.
years.
Dude, could you you could you missed an opportunity. I know you put blessings in there. You had an opportunity to put a Noblar in there and name him D'Artagnan.
Yeah, I thought about it, but it really messed with my desire to never have to think about my deployments when I created this list.
Oh, yeah, that would put a lot of confusion in there.
I mean, and the one thing, it was completely randomized. So like we didn't know what mission we're playing, just because that's how Warhammer World set up to do it as well. So it literally would have cost me nothing to do it, other than the meme of running 3 tyrants, right? It's fun. If you like hitting things, it's a great time. They can hit real hard. They hit things long. They hit them far. Then they can chase other things down and smash them to bits too. I think I went
fast. And they have a 2-inch range. My God.
Yeah, they whack. They're a good time. I did get unlucky with some of the missions that we drew though. I had to play that Wildercore Hunter's list on ley lines. I did manage to scrape out a point and guaranteed the minor loss with killing all but 2 models in the end, I think. But Yeah, they're not great on objective missions. I'll fully disclose that.
I bet you're pretty good on what's the mission? The
Reaper.
kill point missions. Because they're not going to kill a tyrant.
I was really hoping that we drew Reaper, and unfortunately we did not. We did get Hidden Vault, which was the next best thing. That's one of my most epic TTS games I've had. It was against Gray, Uncle Death on Discord, and he was running a triple Storm Fiend list with Skabic and Skritter, and then my 3 tyrants, and it was pretty epic.
Nice Storm Fiends. Let me show you a triple list.
Yeah. He's not used to fighting things that were bigger than him, and which is completely fair, because I think this might be one of the only lists that can be bigger than 3 Storm Fiends.
Oh, that's amazing.
Flayers.
I love it.
Doomflayer gauntlets hit on 5s versus tyrants.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Luckily, there was only one of those. He ran 2 of the good ranged ones.
Shooter, Rattling Cannon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, the game functionally came down to an initiative roll turn 2, because I deployed right next to it, got an attack off into it, and whoever won next was getting the kill. So, yeah, nasty stuff. But yeah, it's
skewer glaive. Give them the glaive.
They're they're fun to play though, man. They're just a good time. If you don't want to think and you just want to blow stuff up, highly recommend it.
Yeah. Ogres was my first list that I ever played for Warcry, and my first list was something like Gutlord, Tyrant, Glutton, and then like 2 Noblars, or however the points work out. And I've been chasing that high ever since.
There's something about playing just 3 massive heavy hitters and then sprinkling in anything else if you feel like it. Like I played up at Salty's tournament at the beginning of last year, played the triple core graph list. Oh,
that's nice too. But it's not triple tyrant though.
Right, yeah.
It's a format we've been joking around in group chatter here of not necessarily 3. We're all of our meme lists tend to sit about 4 models. But something gross like that, where everybody just has 4 model lists and it's just Arena of Death style or whatever you want to call it.
We just headbutt each other until somebody dies.
The worst thing about playing it was sorry, go ahead, Dave.
So if I'm running the 4 model list, I'm running my oops all ogroids. Just two surges.
Another legendary one. Yeah, the only thing that feels really bad in this list is if you deploy round 1 with only 1 or 2 deployment groups and end up with 3 different ability options that you can use. You're just not using abilities. You get one of those. Happened more than once.
Yeah, that's a real concern.
So that's all the lists we got for the month of January. But get ready, because February is going to be an even bigger month here. Coming up to upcoming events, upcoming tournaments. Well, first off, I need to get this out by the end of the week. I actually sent the word out to Discord and a bunch of other places so folks were aware. But all this weekend, as of the time of recording, the next weekend, Super Bowl Sunday, February 10th, 4 tournaments that I know of, at least 4. Actually, there's more that other folks have reached out as well. Hammer World, Red Steel Gaming in Madawan, New Jersey. Girth Demon's running that one. We have Odin Games and Hobby in Schofield. We have Tower Games in Minneapolis. I believe either Salty's running that or someone else from Minneapolis is. Looking forward to getting the results from this. And links will be in the description. So if you catch this in time, go out and play some Warcry this weekend. Because obviously Warcry players don't like watching American football.
Look, you can do both, is the thing. Just put it on your phone. Right there on the table, you can do both. You'll have a great time.
You could. There was going to be Kill Team locally at Dragon's Guild Hall, and the organizer actually moved it to the following week because it was chances were I was not getting there at 2 or 3 to play Kill Team and playing 3 rounds before going to somebody's house.
Yeah.
Well, these are all on Saturday though, right? The Superb Owl isn't on until Sunday, so you can just completely
these are all
responsibilities.
All Sundays. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. The 10th is a Sunday.
No, I got Saturday.
Am I
You might have been looking at the wrong month, my man.
Am I crazy? Oh, you're right. You're right.
Guess
I
whose
got mixed
weekend
up with.
just got more full of Warcry?
Okay. All right. Yes. Okay. That is Saturday. All right. Take back everything I said.
There you go. That's your weekend right there.
That's a good weekend. How do you
Yeah.
shape that out? That's a good weekend.
Not if you have a family. They're not going to be happy. But outside of that,
I did consider a road trip to Wisconsin.
oof. We got a couple. We got that one. I'm bummed. I'm not going to be able to make it to that one. I know at least Zach locally is planning on going to that one. I think a couple other people fell off it. I just couldn't swing that one. But that crew is running a different event next month as well that I'm hoping to get up for too. So
This one?
no, the completely different one. That's our event though. That's the Madison one.
Yep. There's Madison. What
Zach's
the heck
running
is
that
Zach
one.
running that? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
Those are all his models on the poster too. He's painted all
Alright.
those bad boys. He's got
Yep,
some
so-
real good skill.
Yep. So February 17th at Madison, I'm bored. Zach's running that one. I'll have the link in the description. Salt Lake City, Utah. I found this one on Best Coast Pairings as well. Salt Lake City, the lightly salted group is having a tournament. Always good results from that one. Looking forward to seeing that as well.
For sure.
And then locally, for those listening locally in the Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati area, February 25th, I have the date set for our next meetup. This will be just a casual meetup at Dragons Guild Hall. This will be probably one of our last opportunities to do tournament prep, but I'll be setting up open games for new players, teaching, demoing, and if I'm free, then I'll be doing some tournament practice games, trying to set those up for Fred, who's in the competitive at Adepticon.
I was going to say, maybe for everybody else, it's a casual meetup. I'm cutting throats.
You're going hard in the paint.
Yes. I'm
If,
taking random players and I'm like putting my Nurgle demons on the board and I'm looking them in the eye.
If anybody's looking to get some not in real life practice too, Warren, I don't know if you've got a queue for it or anything like that, but we are doing Adepticon practice for this month as well as next month on TTS. We're playing by the Adepticon rules with no blessings or anything like that. So, or if you just want to get games in, always happy to help facilitate, get some games on the interwebs, playing against some friends, some cool people in there.
Has that league started yet? Or
We started January, but the pack we discovered, Salty was enough of a pain in the butt to the TO to add more missions in. So it was originally just going to be Core and Rumble pack for Adepticon, but now it's been expanded to Core, Rumble, only the new White Dwarf, those 6 missions, not those 3 missions. We're keeping that a secret. Hopefully those never see the light of day. And then also there's a Google Doc that Dan had put together with some of the community created missions. So there's a couple from him, a couple from Cody, who's up in Minnesota, who makes some awesome missions. There's one that I put together too. So yeah, there's a lot of missions to prep.
Wait, is this what they convinced the Adepticon TO to do?
Yeah, that's what Dan said.
So there's a pool of 20 plus missions.
30, I think. There's 6, and then 14. Yeah, so there's 30 potential missions. I will say he did.
Sorry, Fred. There is absolutely no way you're gonna have seen all these missions. I cannot adequately prepare you in time for that. I have the White Dwarves, and I have the White Dwarf, the new set of White Dwarf missions, and that's the next batch I'll probably be testing out. But yeah, no way we're getting that many games in.
No, but I think that's
I doubt anyone else will be either. So
TTS players.
Yeah, Rob in particular.
Rob's gonna. I guarantee.
I think he hit over like 35 games January or something like that. He's a wild man. He just gets reps and reps and reps.
Yeah, I need to get in.
Guys,
get into the
I got
TTS.
to call it a night.
All right. Well, hold on. We got the outro here. Great having you on, Mike. Adding to the conversation.
Thanks, man. Always a blast hanging out with you guys.
And we'll be back next month. Again, we're at the pace now. We're doing about one a month now, primarily focused on tournament results. And that'll be our last one before Adepticon. So Adepticon prep coming up. And again, if you're in the local area or even the Ohio area, reach out to us on the official Warcry Discord. Link in the description below. I'm War Machine.
I'm Fresh Fred.
I'm C Forever.
I'm Armor Enthusiast 7.
Thanks for listening.
Your kids need to learn about Warcry.
They know. I just keep screaming it at them. They're like, Dad, I'm trying to do my homework. I'm like, Karajan Overlords, what do I put in this last slot?
Zach's
DPA
kid
is the
supposedly-
only math you need to learn.
Great having you on, Mike. Thanks for being here, adding to the conversation.
Oh, you want me to say this?
I was
Hey man,
At least
great
I can
time as
edit
always. It's
silence
fun
out.
hanging out with you
Yeah.
guys. All right, hold on.
Great-
Which one are we
great
doing?
having
It
you
or
on,
not doing
Mike.
it?
Great having you on, Mike. Thanks for being here, adding to the conversation.